Commander stood on the bridge of the massive warship Dominion's Edge, his forearms crossed as he studied the blue marble spinning slowly on the main display. Earth, such a small, insignificant planet in the outer rim of an unremarkable galaxy. Yet this tiny world had somehow managed to resist the galactic hegemony for 3 standard cycles. "Sir," his communications officer chirped, her crystalline voice cutting through the ambient hum of the ship's systems. "The final surrender demand has been transmitted to all major population centers on the planet's surface." His mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. They were known throughout the galaxy as master strategists, their military prowess unmatched by any of the lesser races. They had conquered 17 star systems in the past decade alone, bringing civilization and order to the chaotic frontier worlds. "Any response from the humans?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. These primitive beings had shown remarkable stubbornness, refusing every reasonable offer of integration into the hegemony's protective embrace. "Negative, sir. Radio silence across all channels." The bridge fell quiet except for the steady pulse of the ship's core. Around them, the greatest armada ever assembled by the hegemony waited in formation. 3,000 vessels of various classes, from nimble scout ships to massive dreadnoughts capable of cracking a planet's crust. The combined firepower represented enough destructive potential to sterilize entire star systems. Had personally overseen the subjugation of where crystalline beings had tried to resist with their primitive energy weapons. He had commanded the siege of the colonies, where the aquatic species had fought with desperate fury from their underwater cities. All had eventually seen reason and accepted the hegemony's rule. The humans would be no different. "Fleet Admiral N is requesting permission to begin orbital bombardment of major military installations," reported his tactical officer. "Tell the Admiral to proceed with the preliminary strikes. Target their communication networks and power grids first. Once they realize the futility of resistance, they'll be more receptive to negotiation." The first wave of attacks began within minutes. Precisely targeted energy beams lanced down from orbit, striking military bases with surgical precision. The humans had no shields, no energy barriers to protect their installations. Their technology was laughably primitive by galactic standards. They still used chemical propulsion for space travel and relied on electromagnetic communications that could be jammed with basic interference patterns. "Direct hits confirmed on all primary targets," the tactical officer reported. "Their military command structure appears to be severely disrupted." Yet something felt wrong too. In his experience, most species would have begun broadcasting surrender offers by now. The humans remained ominously silent. "Sir, we're detecting movement on the planet's surface," the sensor operator announced, her tone puzzled. "Large-scale population shifts toward underground facilities. It appears they were prepared for orbital assault." His eyes narrowed. Preparations suggested intelligence gathering, which implied these humans were not as primitive as initial reports indicated. Estimated time for complete civilian evacuation. "At current rates, approximately 6 local hours." "Interesting." The commander moved closer to the tactical display, studying the heat signatures blooming across Earth's surface. "They're not panicking. This is an organized withdrawal. How long have they known we were coming?" His intelligence officer, a thin with pale blue skin, consulted her data tablet. "Our scouts first detected human space activity 3 cycles ago. They may have been monitoring our approach since then." 3 years, felt a slight unease creep into his thoughts. 3 years was enough time to prepare defenses, to study hegemony tactics, to plan countermeasures. But what could a primitive species possibly develop in such a short time that would threaten the most advanced military force in the galaxy? "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced suddenly. "Audio only, broadcasting on multiple frequencies." "Put it through." The voice that filled the bridge was distinctly human, speaking in accented galactic standard. "This is President Sarah of the United Earth Defense Coalition. I'm addressing commander of the hegemony vessel Dominion's Edge." His 4 hands clenched involuntarily. They knew his name, his ship, how. The human continued, "We are aware of your demands for surrender, and we respectfully decline. Earth will not submit to foreign occupation. However, we are willing to discuss terms for your withdrawal from our system." Laughter rippled across the bridge from several officers. The audacity was almost entertaining. Raised a hand for silence. This is Commander. President, you seem to misunderstand your situation. You face the combined might of 3,000 warships. Your planet has no orbital defenses, no fleet to protect you. Surrender now, and your species will be granted citizenship within the hegemony. Continue this foolish resistance, and we will be forced to use more aggressive measures. There was a pause before the human responded. Commander, I don't think you understand your situation. You've entered our home system without permission and attacked our installations. Under the laws of war recognized throughout the galaxy, this constitutes an act of aggression. We are prepared to defend ourselves. Your world has no weapons capable of threatening ships in orbit, replied coldly. We have studied your technology extensively. You possess nothing that could penetrate our defensive systems. You're absolutely right, President said calmly. We have no weapons that could threaten ships in orbit, but then again, we don't need any. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in confused silence. Sir, the sensor operator called out, her voice tight with concern. I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface, multiple locations all deep underground. Specify. The signatures are unusual. I've never seen anything like this before. It's almost as if they're artificially generating gravitational fields. Felt his blood chill. Gravitational manipulation was theoretical even for the hegemony's most advanced scientists. That's impossible. Show me the readings. The main display shifted to show a cross-section view of Earth, with brilliant points of light scattered across all continents. Each point pulsed with steadily increasing energy levels. Sir, Fleet Admiral N is reporting similar readings across the entire planet. His science officers believe the humans have constructed some form of planetary defense network. What kind of defense network? Demanded. Unknown, sir. The energy patterns don't match any known weapons technology. The commander stared at the display, his strategic mind racing through possibilities. The humans had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. They had known the hegemony was coming and had used that time to build something unprecedented, something that shouldn't exist according to current scientific understanding. Open a channel to all fleet commanders, he ordered. I want maximum defensive posture, raise shields to full power and begin long-range scanning of those energy sources. Sir, Admiral N is requesting permission to begin planetary bombardment. He believes we should eliminate the threat before it becomes operational. Hesitated, standard procedure called for overwhelming force when facing unknown technology. But something about this situation felt different. The humans were too calm, too prepared. They were acting like they held the superior position. Negative, we need to understand what we're facing before we act. Order the fleet to maintain current distance and monitor those energy signatures. Sir, the energy readings are spiking dramatically. All underground facilities are now at maximum output. On the display, Earth began to glow with an inner fire. The points of light grew brighter, and strange distortions appeared in space around them. The very fabric of reality seemed to shimmer and bend. Commander, the sensor operator whispered, the gravitational fields are expanding. They're reaching into orbit. Watched in growing horror as invisible forces began to take hold of his fleet. The massive ships that had conquered worlds began to drift slowly toward the planet below. Engines to full reverse, all ships emergency burn away from the gravity well. But it was too late. The artificial gravity fields weren't just pulling on the ships, they were pulling on space itself. The hegemony fleet, with all its advanced technology and overwhelming firepower, found itself caught in an inescapable grip. Sir, we're receiving another transmission from Earth. President's voice returned, still calm but now carrying an edge of steel. Commander, you are now experiencing Earth's planetary defense system. Your ships are caught in artificially generated gravitational fields that we can control with precision. You have 2 choices: withdraw immediately and never return, or be pulled down to Earth's surface where your crews can be taken as prisoners of war. This is impossible, breathed. No species has this technology. You're right, the human replied. No species had this technology until 3 years ago. When we learned you were coming, we did what humans do best. We adapted. We innovated. We found a way to turn our planet itself into a weapon. The fleet was descending now, slowly but inevitably. Ships that could travel faster than light found themselves helpless against forces they didn't understand. Emergency thrusters fired desperately, but the gravitational fields were too strong, too precisely controlled. How demanded? Your species barely understands basic physics. This technology is centuries beyond your capability. That's where you made your mistake, Commander. You assumed we were just another primitive species to be conquered. But humans aren't like other species. When we're threatened, when our survival is at stake, we don't just fight back. We transform. We become something new. Alarms began sounding across the bridge as the ship's hull started groaning under the increasing gravitational stress. The hegemony's finest warship, designed to withstand the fury of stellar combat, was being slowly crushed by forces that shouldn't exist. Sir, hull integrity at 70% and falling. If we don't break free soon, the ship will be destroyed. Stared at the blue planet below, its surface now glowing with the power of artificial stars. For the first time in his military career, he faced an enemy that was truly superior. The humans hadn't just resisted conquest, they had made conquest impossible. "Open a channel to President," he ordered quietly. "Yes, Commander." "What are your terms for our withdrawal?" "Simple, leave our system and never return. Inform the hegemony that Earth is not available for conquest. We prefer peaceful coexistence, but we will defend ourselves against any aggression." "And if we refuse?" "Then you'll discover what happens when a species that survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars decides you're a threat to their children." The gravitational field suddenly shifted, and felt his ship being gently pushed away from Earth. The invisible hands that had trapped his fleet now guided them toward the edge of the solar system. "This is not over," he transmitted, though his voice lacked conviction. "No, Commander," President replied. "It never even began. Safe travels." As the hegemony fleet was expelled from Earth's solar system, wondered what kind of species could develop planet-killing technology in just 3 years. What kind of beings could turn their entire world into a weapon and then choose mercy over destruction? He was beginning to realize that the galactic hegemony had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed humans were just another primitive race to be conquered. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous than any enemy they had ever faced. They had encountered a species that could evolve not just biologically, but technologically and strategically in response to threats. A species that could transform impossibility into reality when their survival was at stake. The humans weren't just another conquest. They were something entirely new in the galaxy, something that would change everything. The emergency session of the Galactic Hegemony High Council, convened within hours of Commander's return to the capital world of Nexus Prime. The massive chamber, carved from a single crystalline formation that rose from the planet's core, had witnessed the decisions that shaped civilizations across the galaxy. Today, it would hear something unprecedented, a report of total military failure. Supreme Chancellor, her ancient form hovering in the central dais, extended sensory tendrils to absorb the data streams flowing from his report. Around the circular chamber, representatives from dozens of species watched in shocked silence as tactical displays showed the impossible. The most powerful fleet in galactic history being gently but firmly expelled from a primitive star system. "Explain this again, Commander," Chancellor's mental voice resonated through the chamber's translation matrix. "Your fleet of 3,000 vessels was defeated by gravitational manipulation." Stood rigidly at attention, his 4 arms trembling slightly with suppressed emotion. "Not defeated, Supreme Chancellor. Neutralized. The humans demonstrated complete control over gravitational fields within their star system. They could have destroyed our entire fleet, but chose to expel us instead." A ripple of disbelief swept through the assembled representatives. Council member of the collective raised his crystalline head. "Impossible. Gravitational manipulation on such a scale requires technology that doesn't exist. Our best scientists consider it theoretical at best." "That's what I believed as well," replied, "until I watched my flagship being pulled toward their planet by forces we couldn't resist or understand." Dr. Eth, the hegemony's chief science advisor, materialized at his workstation through quantum transmission. His gaseous form flickered with agitation as he processed the sensor data. "The readings are authentic. The humans somehow generated artificial gravity wells with precision control across their entire planetary surface. The energy requirements alone should have been impossible for their infrastructure. Supreme Chancellor's ancient consciousness probed deeper into the tactical records. Show me their technological progression, Commander. What intelligence did we gather about human development during our 3-year approach? Activated the holographic displays, showing Earth as it had been when first detected. Initial scans showed a species that had barely achieved interplanetary flight. Chemical rockets, primitive nuclear technology, basic electronics. They were at least 2,000 years behind standard galactic civilization levels. And then, the Chancellor prompted, complete technological revolution. In 3 years, they progressed from chemical rockets to gravitational manipulation. It's not just advancement, it's transformation on a scale we've never encountered. The chamber erupted in discussions as representatives processed this information. The hegemony had conquered thousands of worlds, integrated hundreds of species, and never encountered anything like this rate of technological evolution. Council member of the warrior caste leaned forward aggressively. Perhaps they had hidden technology, secret research facilities that our scouts missed. Negative, Dr. Eth interjected. Our deep space surveillance was comprehensive. We monitored their electromagnetic emissions, tracked their resource utilization, observed their industrial capacity. 3 years ago, they were using fossil fuels for energy. Today, they're manipulating fundamental forces of physics. Then how? Chancellor demanded. Dr. Eth's gaseous form swirled with uncertain patterns. The only explanation that fits the evidence is unprecedented adaptive capability. When faced with an existential threat, this species somehow accelerated their technological development beyond anything we understand to be possible. A new voice cut through the discussion. Council member of the information caste had been silent until now, but her network of quantum sensors had been analyzing data streams since return. I've been monitoring human communication networks since the failed conquest. Their information exchange patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Explain, the Chancellor commanded. Humans don't just share information, they build upon it collectively, in real time. Their global communication network allows billions of individuals to contribute to problem-solving simultaneously. It's like having an entire civilization's worth of minds working as a single massive computational system. The implications sent a chill through the chamber. Species throughout the galaxy had achieved various forms of collective consciousness, but nothing approaching the scale was describing. Furthermore, continued, their approach to scientific discovery is fundamentally different from galactic norm. Where most species follow logical, linear progression, humans appear to make intuitive leaps that bypass traditional developmental stages. Found himself nodding grimly. During our confrontation, they demonstrated technology that our scientists say should have taken to develop, but they spoke as if the rapid development was natural for their species. Which brings us to the real question, Chancellor said, her mental voice heavy with concern. If humans can advance from chemical rockets to gravitational manipulation in 3 years when threatened, what will they develop next? And will they be content to remain in their single star system? The question hung in the chamber's recycled atmosphere like a toxic cloud. Every representative understood the implications. The hegemony had survived and thrived by maintaining technological superiority over lesser species. If humans could advance beyond hegemony technology levels in response to threats, the entire galactic order was at risk. Dr. Eth began projecting theoretical models into the chamber's display matrix. Based on their demonstrated capability, human technological advancement appears to be exponential rather than linear. If they continue this rate of development, they could surpass our most advanced systems within a standard decade. Impossible, Council member protested. No species develops that quickly. Evolution requires time, testing, gradual improvement. That's what makes humans so dangerous, replied. They don't follow evolutionary rules, they create new ones. Slammed his armored fist against his podium. Then we destroy them before they become a threat, gather 10,000 ships, approach from multiple vectors, end this before it spreads. With what? Asked quietly. They neutralized our most powerful fleet without firing a shot. What makes you think more ships would fare better against enemies who can control gravity itself? The chamber fell silent as the reality sank in. For the first time in hegemony history, They faced an opponent they couldn't simply overwhelm with superior numbers or technology. Chancellor extended her consciousness to access the hegemony's deepest archives, searching for precedents that might guide their decision. In 37,000 years of galactic civilization, we have encountered aggressive species, defensive species, isolationist species, and collaborative species. We have never encountered a species that could fundamentally alter their technological capabilities in response to external pressure. "What are you recommending, Supreme Chancellor?" asked Council Member High of the Economic Caste. "Isolation protocols. We establish a quarantine zone around the Sol system. No ships approach within 50 light years. We monitor from a distance and hope they remain content in their home system." "And if they don't," demanded, "if they decide to expand beyond their borders?" The Chancellor's response was barely audible through the translation matrix. "Then we hope they're as merciful to us as they were to Commander's fleet." Meanwhile, in a secure bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, President Sarah concluded her own emergency session with Earth's Defense Council. The holographic displays around the conference table showed the departing hegemony fleet, now safely beyond the outer planets of the solar system. "Confirm all gravitational field generators are powering down to standby mode," ordered. Dr. Earth's chief scientist and architect of the planetary defense system nodded wearily. "All installations are secure. The grid performed exactly as designed." "Casualties?" "Minimal. 3 technicians suffered minor injuries during the rapid deployment phase. No combat casualties." Leaned back in her chair, feeling the weight of what had just occurred. 6 months ago, she had been a professor of international relations. Today, she had successfully repelled an alien invasion using technology that had existed only in theory until 3 years ago. "How long until they come back?" asked General Martinez, Earth's military commander. Doctor consulted her data pad. "Unknown. It depends on whether they're willing to accept what happened or if they see us as an existential threat." "Which we are," added Dr. James Wright, the physicist who had first proposed the gravitational manipulation project. "We just demonstrated that a supposedly primitive species can develop technology beyond their understanding in a few years. That has to terrify them." Stood and walked to the chamber's main display, which showed Earth from orbit. Cities sparkled with lights, unaware of how close they had come to alien conquest. "The question is, what do we do now? We can't assume they won't return with a larger force." "We continue developing," Doctor replied firmly. "The gravitational manipulation system was just the beginning. With the principles we've established, we can expand the technology in ways the hegemony can't even imagine." "Such as?" "Faster-than-light travel without traditional drives, defensive barriers that bend space itself, weapons that can target enemy ships across galactic distances, and that's just the military applications. The civilian benefits could revolutionize human civilization." General Martinez frowned. "But if we expand too quickly, if we spread beyond Earth, won't that be seen as a threat?" Considered this carefully. The humans had won their first confrontation with the galaxy by demonstrating superior defensive technology and choosing mercy over destruction. But they couldn't remain isolated forever. "No," she decided finally. "Isolation isn't the answer. We need to establish our place in the galactic community, but on our terms, not as a conquered species, but as equals." "How do we do that?" Dr. Wright asked. Smiled grimly. "We do what humans have always done when faced with a larger, more established power structure. We change the rules of the game." 3 days later, a human transmission reached every major communication relay in hegemony space. The message was simple but revolutionary: an invitation to peaceful contact, and the offer to share gravitational manipulation technology with any species willing to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. The galaxy would never be the same. Back on Nexus Prime, Chancellor received the human transmission with a mixture of awe and terror. The humans weren't content to remain isolated. They were announcing themselves to the galaxy as a technological force and offering to share their revolutionary discoveries. The hegemony had 2 choices: adapt to a new galactic order where humans were equals, or risk being left behind by species willing to embrace human innovation. For an empire built on technological superiority, it was an existential crisis unlike anything they had ever faced. 5 years had passed since the hegemony's failed conquest of Earth, and the galaxy looked nothing like it had before. Ambassador Sarah, now Earth's representative to the newly formed Galactic Cooperative Council, stood in what had once been the hegemony's throne room. The oppressive architecture remained, but the atmosphere had transformed completely. Where Supreme Chancellor had once ruled through fear and superior firepower, delegates from 47 species now gathered as equals. The massive chamber buzzed with countless languages and translation systems as representatives debated everything from trade agreements to joint scientific ventures. Watched the proceedings with satisfaction mixed with amazement. When Earth had offered to share gravitational manipulation technology, she had hoped for peaceful contact with a few neighboring species. She hadn't expected the complete restructuring of galactic civilization. "The mineral rights proposals from the collective are ready for your review," said her aide, Lieutenant Commander Jackson, formerly of Earth's Defense Forces and now part of the diplomatic corps. "Also, the crystalline beings want to discuss joint research into quantum gravitational effects." "Schedule the meeting for this afternoon," replied. "They've been our best partners in developing applications for civilian infrastructure." The irony wasn't lost on her. That had been one of the hegemony's first conquests, they're subjugated by Commander himself. Now they were eager allies, working with human scientists to develop technologies that benefited both species. "Ambassador," a familiar voice interrupted her thoughts. She turned to see former commander approaching. He wore civilian robes now, having resigned his commission when the hegemony's military was disbanded. His 4 arms moved in the gesture of respectful greeting. She smiled warmly. "How are the integration proceedings going?" "Better than expected," he admitted. "My people are adapting to the new galactic order more readily than I anticipated. The younger generation especially seems excited about the collaborative research opportunities." It had been himself who had proposed the hegemony's peaceful dissolution. After witnessing human technological capabilities, he had convinced the High Council that military dominance was no longer sustainable. Species that had been conquered for decades were demanding independence, inspired by Earth's successful resistance. "I wanted to personally thank you again," continued, his mandibles clicking in an expression had learned indicated deep sincerity. "When my fleet faced your planet's defenses, you could have destroyed us all. Instead, you chose to show us a better path." Nodded thoughtfully. "My species has learned that destruction is easy. Creation, cooperation, building something better, that's the real challenge." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent chime from communicator. Doctor appeared as a hologram, her face tight with concern. "Sarah, we need to talk, privately. There's something you need to see." Excused herself and found a secure communication chamber. Its full image materialized in the room's center and could see she was calling from one of Earth's deep space monitoring stations. "What's wrong?" "We've detected ships approaching from the galactic core. Massive vessels, technology we don't recognize. They're not responding to any communications and they're on a direct course for Earth." Felt her blood chill. "How many ships?" "That's the problem. It's not a fleet. It's a single vessel, but it's the size of a small moon. Sensors indicate it's artificial, and it's generating energy readings that dwarf anything we've seen. ETA to Earth. 18 hours at their current speed. Sarah, whatever this is, it's beyond anything the former hegemony ever deployed. The energy signatures suggest technology centuries ahead of even our gravitational manipulation systems." His mind raced. In the 5 years since first contact, Earth had become the center of a new galactic alliance. Dozens of species had established embassies in Earth's solar system. If this unknown vessel was hostile, millions of lives were at stake. "I'm returning to Earth immediately," decided. "Coordinate with all allied species. If this turns violent, we'll need every advantage we can get." 8 hours later, stood in the newly constructed Orbital Defense Command Station, watching long-range sensors track the approaching vessel. Representatives from allied species filled the command center, their various forms of communication creating a polyglot harmony of concern and determination. "Visual contact established," reported Captain, Earth's Orbital Defense Coordinator. The main display flickered and revealed something that comprehension. The approaching vessel was indeed moon-sized, but its surface writhed with organic patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living tissue. Crystalline structures jutted from its hull at impossible angles, and energy discharges flickered across its surface like neural activity. "It's beautiful," whispered the representative, her crystalline form resonating with harmonies of awe. "It's terrifying," muttered, who had joined them from the Galactic Council. "That design philosophy doesn't match any known species. This is something entirely alien." Doctor materialized via hologram from her laboratory. "I've been analyzing the energy signatures. The technology is definitely non-galactic in origin. This vessel is using principles that make our gravitational manipulation look primitive." Origin asked. "Unknown, but based on the trajectory and energy signatures, I believe it comes from beyond our galaxy. We're looking at true extraterrestrial contact." The implications hit the assembled representatives like a physical blow. All the species in their galaxy, despite their differences, shared certain basic similarities in how they understood physics and technology. This vessel suggested beings that had evolved along completely different technological paths. "Incoming transmission," Captain announced suddenly. "Source is the unknown vessel. It's transmitting on frequencies that shouldn't be possible to generate." "Put it through," ordered. The voice that filled the command center seemed to bypass their translation systems entirely, speaking directly into their minds with concepts rather than words. When the message ended, every being present understood perfectly, despite the alien nature of the communication. "Greetings, young galaxy dwellers. We are the architects, shepherds of cosmic development. We have traveled far to investigate reports of unprecedented technological advancement in your region. We seek the species known as humans for evaluation and possible integration into the greater cosmic community." Stepped forward, though she knew the beings couldn't see her. "This is Ambassador Sarah of Earth. We are the humans you seek. What do you mean by evaluation?" The response came immediately, carrying undertones of emotions that had no names in any galactic language. "Your species has achieved technological advancement at rates that suggest intervention by cosmic-level intelligences. Our investigation will determine whether you represent natural evolution or artificial enhancement. If artificial, corrective measures will be implemented." "Corrective measures?" whispered two. "That sounds like a threat." Raised her voice. "We have achieved our technological advancement through natural development in response to external pressures. Our rapid progress is the result of our species' adaptive capabilities, not outside intervention. This claim will be: prepare for deep analysis of your species' technological development. All space-capable civilizations in your region will be examined to determine the extent of contamination." The communication ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. "Contamination," Doctor said quietly. "They think our technological sharing has contaminated the galaxy's natural development." Felt a chill of realization. The architects weren't here to welcome Earth to some greater cosmic community. They were here to investigate what they saw as an anomaly and possibly correct it. "How long until they reach Earth?" she asked. 6 hours, Captain replied. "Contact all Allied fleets. I want every ship with gravitational manipulation capability in Earth system within 4 hours." Sarah said quietly, "If these beings are as advanced as their technology suggests, our combined fleets might not be sufficient." "Maybe not," replied grimly. "But humans don't surrender to bullies no matter how advanced they are, and neither do our allies." The next 4 hours saw the largest gathering of ships in galactic history as vessels from 47 species converged on Earth's solar system. Former enemies stood side by side, united by shared purpose and the revolutionary technology that had made their cooperation possible. The architect's vessel entered Earth's system precisely on schedule, its impossible bulk dwarfing even the largest Allied ships. It made no aggressive moves, simply positioned itself at the edge of sensor range and began scanning. "They're penetrating our deepest security systems," Doctor reported with alarm. "Sensors are analyzing everything from our biological structure to our historical records. They're trying to map our entire technological development." "Let them," said calmly. "They want to see how we developed our technology, show them everything." "Sarah, are you sure? If they determine we're too dangerous?" "We are dangerous. We're dangerous because we refuse to accept limitations. We're dangerous because we turn impossibilities into realities when we're threatened. And right now, They're threatening not just us, but every species that's chosen to work with us. The scanning continued for 3 hours. During that time, the architect's vessel examined not just human development, but the collaborative research that had emerged from human-alien partnerships. They studied the peaceful dissolution of the hegemony, the formation of the Galactic Cooperative Council, and the unprecedented rate of technological advancement that had resulted from species sharing knowledge freely. Finally, the architect spoke again. Analysis complete. Species designation, human, has achieved technological advancement through unprecedented adaptive capability. No evidence of cosmic-level intervention detected. However, rate of advancement poses significant risk to cosmic stability. Stepped forward, risk to whose stability, whose cosmic order are we threatening? Natural galactic development follows predictable patterns over millions of years. Your species compresses this timeline into decades. Your influence is already spreading, accelerating development among dozens of species. Left unchecked, this acceleration could destabilize the cosmic balance. Balance maintained by whom? Demanded. Who appointed you guardians of cosmic development? We are self-appointed. We are the survivors of species that achieved cosmic awareness. We have seen galaxies consumed by uncontrolled technological advancement. We prevent such catastrophes. The truth hung in the mental communication like a weight. The architects weren't explorers or teachers. They were enforcers of cosmic stagnation, ensuring that no species advanced too quickly or achieved too much. What are your intentions regarding our species? Asked. Standard protocol requires limitation of advancement capabilities. Your gravitational manipulation technology will be suppressed. Species influenced by your development will be reset to precontact levels. Your civilization will be permitted to exist within acceptable parameters. Around the command center, representatives from dozens of species exchanged glances of horror and determination. They had tasted freedom and cooperation. They would not willingly return to the limitations and divisions that had defined their existence for. Smiled grimly. You know what your problem is? You've spent so long preventing other species from advancing that you've forgotten what advancement actually looks like. Before the architects could respond, she activated a communication system that linked every ship in the Allied fleet. All vessels, implement Protocol Unity. It's time to show our cosmic babysitters what humans really are. Across the solar system, ships from 47 species activated gravitational manipulation systems in perfect coordination. But instead of generating defensive fields or offensive weapons, they began creating something unprecedented. A galaxy-wide communication network using gravitational waves. Within minutes, every inhabited system within 50,000 light-years was receiving a single, unified message. Humans, working with their allies, transmitted the complete technical specifications for gravitational manipulation to every species capable of understanding it. What are you doing? The architects demanded, their mental voice for the first time carrying notes of alarm. Evolution, replied calmly. You want to maintain cosmic balance by preventing advancement. We're going to tip that balance so far that you'll never be able to reset it. Across the galaxy, species that had never dreamed of faster-than-light travel were suddenly receiving blueprints for reality-bending technology. The gift came with a simple message. The universe belongs to all thinking beings, not to self-appointed guardians. Choose your own path among the stars. The architect's vessel began generating massive energy discharges as they prepared to implement their corrective measures. But they were too late. The technological revolution was already spreading at the speed of gravitational waves, reaching species across the galaxy faster than any physical intervention could stop it. Impossible, the architects transmitted, their mental voice now crackling with something approaching panic. You've contaminated an entire galactic region. The advancement cascade will be unstoppable. That's the point, replied. You've spent eons keeping intelligent species from reaching their potential. Today that ends. The massive vessel began to withdraw from Earth's system, but not in retreat. Energy readings spiked to levels that suggested they were preparing to implement their ultimate corrective measure, sterilization of the entire galactic region. All ships, commanded, gravitational field integration, maximum power. Show them what cooperative evolution really looks like. What happened next had no precedent in galactic history. Ships from dozens of species, their gravitational manipulation systems integrated through human-designed coordination protocols combined their fields into a single massive construction. Instead of destroying the architect's vessel, they built a gravitational cage around it, trapping moon-sized technology with the combined will of an entire galactic community. "This is impossible," the architects repeated, their confidence finally cracking. "No single galaxy species should possess this level of coordination." "You're right," replied. "No single galaxy species could do this, but we're not a single species anymore. We're an alliance. We're evolution in action. We're the future you were trying to prevent." The standoff lasted for 18 hours. The architects, trapped within an inescapable gravitational prison created by species they had considered primitives, were forced to negotiate. The agreement that emerged established new cosmic protocols. The Galactic Cooperative Council would be recognized as a sovereign entity with the right to technological self-determination. The architects would cease interference in natural galactic development, in exchange for regular diplomatic contact and gradual sharing of cosmic-level technologies. Most importantly, the galaxy's species would be free to choose their own rate of advancement, limited only by their own wisdom and capabilities. As the architect's vessel departed under escort from Allied ships, stood on the observation deck of Orbital Defense Command, watching Earth turn slowly below. In 5 years, her species had gone from a single isolated planet to the center of a galactic renaissance. "What's next?" asked, joining her at the viewport. Smiled, thinking of the reports already coming in from across the galaxy. Species that had been dormant were beginning to explore gravitational manipulation. Ancient civilizations were emerging from isolation. New alliances were forming daily. "Next, we see how far intelligence can really go when it's not artificially limited," she replied. "We're about to find out what the universe looks like when everyone gets to reach for the stars." Behind them, communication arrays crackled with messages from hundreds of species, all eager to share knowledge, explore possibilities, and build something greater than any single world could achieve alone. The age of cosmic guardians was ending. The age of universal cooperation was about to begin.